The Rey debate usually gets reduced to two arguments. She's disliked because she's a woman or because she's a Mary Sue. But watch The Force Awakens and A New Hope back to back and you'll notice something different. The real problem starts before Rey even leaves Jakku. The Force Awakens tries to copy Luke Skywalker's story beats without understanding why those beats worked. Luke and Rey are both introduced on desert planets, both are lonely, both discover a droid with vital information, both get pulled into a galactic conflict. But one introduction locks you onto the protagonist immediately, the other leaves you searching for someone else to care about. This isn't about gender. This isn't about power levels. This is about a structural foundation that make or break a protagonist in the first act. In screenwriting, agency means a character's forward-facing desire that exists independent of plot events. The protagonist wants something before the story forces them to want it. Luke's restlessness is established immediately. He's impatient with Uncle Owen. He argues about the academy. Then we get that binary sunset shot of Luke staring at a future he can almost touch. The key principle here is simple. Luke wants to leave Tatooine before R2-D2 shows up. The plot doesn't create his desire, it collides with it. That's what makes agency work. The story doesn't manufacture motivation. Luke already has it. Now, compare that to Rey's introduction in The Force Awakens. Rey's opening sequence is beautifully shot. It's quiet, it's lonely, it's poetic, but here's the structural difference. Rey doesn't want a life beyond Jakku. Rey wants the past to come back and rescue her. Her defining goal at the beginning of the story is to wait. Luke says, I want to go. Rey says, I want to stay until someone returns. That's not a moral criticism of Rey as a person, it's a structural issue. The protagonist's primary desire is to remain emotionally suspended, and stories live or die on motion. Some people will argue, Rey has agency. She survives, she scavenges, she's competent. And that's true. She has operational agency. She can do things, but storytelling isn't always about whether the character can function. Audiences attach to characters who pursue futures. Endurance is quieter. It's harder to build a blockbuster around it, unless the story introduces a strong catalytic relationship that forces change early. This distinction matters because it determines how the audience experiences the first act. When Luke talks about the academy, when he stares at his two sons, we feel his frustration, we understand his restlessness, we want him to escape. When Rey waits on Jakku, the film looks great, Rey looks cool, but we're not emotionally involved. Her goal is anti-motion by design. That's the difference between a protagonist who drives the story and a protagonist who waits for the story to arrive. But agency alone isn't enough. At some point, the character has to make a choice and they have to cross a threshold and commit to the journey. At the beginning of almost every great story, there are three essential beats: the call to adventure, the refusal of the call, and the acceptance. These beats aren't arbitrary. They tell the audience why this character must go on this journey and what's at stake. They make us invest on whether the character will succeed. Luke's call to adventure comes from Princess Leia's holographic message in R2-D2. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. After finding Obi-Wan, Luke is asked to come to Alderaan, learn the ways of the Force, and help rescue the princess. And Luke refuses. I can't get involved. I've got work to do. This isn't weakness. This is humanity. Luke has responsibilities. He has a life. However frustrating, the refusal makes his eventual choice meaningful. Then comes a devastating catalyst. Luke tries to go home and find his aunt and uncle murdered by stormtroopers. The old life is literally burned away. And then Luke makes a decision that lands like fate. His home is gone. His family is dead. But more importantly, he understands what the Empire represents. They didn't just burn down the homestead. They took out innocent people, his aunt and uncle, while searching for droids. If Luke walks away now, the Empire will continue. They'll do this to other families, other homes, other innocent people. He's seen what happens when good people do nothing. He's witnessed the cost of sitting on the sidelines while evil operates unchecked. That's why the story works. Luke doesn't leave because the plot needs him to. He leaves because he decides the fight matters more than his safety. That's the moment the audience buys the journey. Now, let's look at Rey leaving Jakku in The Force Awakens. Rey meets Finn, the First Order attacks, a chase begins, she gets pulled into the Millennium Falcon, she escapes into space. It's exciting, the action's well choreographed, the effects are spectacular, but here's the storytelling issue. Rey doesn't leave because she chooses the future. Rey leaves because the plot grabs her by the wrists and she starts running. She's a passenger in her own story. The movie tries to patch this with dialogue. Rey insists that she needs to go back to Jakku. She wants to return. She tells Finn and Han that her family is waiting. But no one in the audience believes we're going back to Jakku to watch her scavenge for parts for another 30 minutes, so her dialogue doesn't carry any emotional weight. Luke leaves and doesn't look back. Rey leaves while looking back the whole time. This creates a lingering sense that she's not driving the story. She's surviving it. And when a protagonist lacks a clear I choose threshold in the first act, the audience unconsciously searches for someone else to attach to it. That's why so many people walk out of The Force Awakens saying they prefer Finn, or Kylo Ren, or Han Solo. Not because Rey is bad, not because she's even poorly acted. It's because the script didn't give her a clear, clean choice arc early enough. When Luke leaves Tatooine, we know his desires, we know his motives, we know what's at stake for him personally. When Rey leaves Jakku, the movie says, enjoy the ride, grab some popcorn, and wait for the sequel to explain why all this matters. Rey's trilogy starts with identity as a hook, but without the same choice threshold. It feels like her entire arc depends on external answers rather than internal decision. And that's why debates spiral into, is she earned? Is she overpowered? Is she written well? Those arguments are symptoms. The deeper issue is this. The story didn't lock the audience onto her desires early enough. When the first movie doesn't give your protagonist a clear engine, desire, identity, choice, everything after becomes a debate about whether she deserves to be there. That's not fair to the character, that's not fair to the actor, but it's the consequence of weak structural foundations. And while making this video, I wondered, if Disney gave me a truckload of money and said, fix the beginning of Force Awakens without changing Rey's character, what would I do? The challenge is simple. Fix Rey's introduction without changing her character, personality, or core arc. Only change structural choices. Solution 1. Give Rey a proactive goal that points forward. Instead of wait for parents to return, make her goal scavenge enough to buy my freedom from Uncle Plot and escape Jakku. This makes her scavenging meaningful. Every part she finds brings her closer to freedom, not just survival. Now, when Rey chooses not to sell BB-8, the decision carries real weight. She's sacrificing years of scavenging work, her ticket off Jakku, to protect a droid she doesn't know. That shows courage, sacrifice, and moral integrity. It draws us to her as a character because we see what it cost her. Solution 2. Strengthen her early relationship with Finn by making him her mirror. Instead of Finn escaping the First Order, give him an actual mission from Poe. Deliver the map to the Resistance. For his loyalty, Finn will be rewarded financially if he completes the mission. When Finn meets Rey, he begs for her help to get off the planet and find the Resistance. Rey refuses. She wants nothing to do with the war. She doesn't accept until Finn offers her part of the reward money. Now, instead of cute banter that doesn't advance the character,
Thanks.
How did you do that?
I don't know.
No
I've
one
learned some
trained you?
chips, but I've never left the planet. Your last
That
shot
was
dead.
amazing.
Oh, you got it
You
with
set
one
me up for it.
blast.
we have two people with clear, relatable motivations making a pact. Rey wants the reward money to buy her freedom and escape to a planet untouched by war. Finn cares about the money, but his true goal is to fight for the Resistance and find a place where he belongs. They're mirrors of each other, both running from the past, both searching for a future. And now, Rey has a complete character arc by the end of The Force Awakens. At the beginning, she's a scavenger who refuses to get involved in the war, and by the end, she finds a place where she belongs, a cause worth fighting for, and a reason to begin her Jedi training. This also makes her relationship with Han Solo resonate. Han can relate to her being a rebel who only cared about the money, and now his mentorship has meaning in the story instead of existing purely for nostalgia. These are small structural changes, but they transform the entire framework of the story. Luke's introduction works because he has a future-facing desire. He bonds with a mentor who reframes his identity, and he crosses the threshold by choice. Rey's introduction is beautifully filmed and well acted, but her desire is backward-facing. Her relationships don't anchor her inner transformation early enough, and her departure is more swept away than I'm choosing to go on this journey. And when the first movie doesn't fully lock the audience into the protagonist's internal engine, every other story beat suffers as a result. That's why so many people felt the problem from the very beginning. These are the kind of structural decisions that separates a protagonist the audience roots for from a protagonist the audience debates about. And if you're writing your own screenplay, these three foundations, agency, identity, and choice, are worth getting right in your first act because everything builds on them. Thanks for watching.